Hello, this is Team 3, and today's video is going to be on breaking into Brazil, specifically how it is like to do business in Brazil. Today's video is going to be narrated by Ashik Arif, Mohammed Alim, and Lori Holt.
Over the past century, Brazil has experienced a monarchical, communist, and military dictatorship style of government, and has had a total of 7 constitutions, but the most recent constitution of Brazil was that created in 1988. Brazil supports democratic government that affects its members of government through voting, and any persons over the age of 18 is allowed to vote. Brazil's federal government also has 3 branches of government, just like the United States, which are executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The executive branch consists of the president, who serves a 4-year term and is elected by a direct ballot system. The legislative branch is served by a 2-chambered National Congress that consists of the Federal Senate, which has 81 members that serve for 4 years, and the Chamber of Deputies that have 513 members that serve for a term of 8 years. The judicial branch is exercised by the Supreme Federal Tribunal, which has judges that are appointed for life, and they are elected by their own tribunal members. Brazil has 26 states, which are semi-autonomous entities that have the same style of administration as the federal government and have relative financial independence. States hold elections every 4 years. The executive role of the states is filled by the governor and his secretaries. The legislative role is filled by the Legislative Assembly, and the judicial role is filled by the Justice Tribunal. The governors and members of the assemblies are elected, but the judiciary members are appointed by the governor. Brazil also has over 4,400 municipal councils that are also autonomous in only local affairs. Now, the economic circumstance of Brazil is that since 2003, Brazil has been experiencing rapid economic growth and social progress throughout the country. In the past decade, more than 26 million people were lifted out of poverty. The income growth of the bottom 40% of the population has grown at an average of 6.1% per year versus only 3.5% growth for the total population. However, since 2013, Brazil has shown signs of slowing down this growth rate. Brazil's growth rate has slowed down from 4.5% in 2006 to 2010 to only 2.1% in 2011 to 2014, and just 0.1% in 2014. The inflation rate of the country remains very high at 6.4%. Currently, Brazil's GDP per parity is $2.4 trillion. Its growth rate is at 2.3% and has a 2.6% 5-year compound growth. A per capita income of $12,221 and an FDI inflow of $64 billion.
Now we will take a look at Hofstede's six-dimensional model of natural national culture to help learn about the socioculture in Brazil. The cultural dimensions represent independent preferences for one state of affairs over another that distinguishes countries from each other. The scale runs from 0 to 100, with 50 as mid-level. The rule of thumb is that if a score is under 50, the culture scores relatively low on that scale, and if the score is over 50, the culture scores high on that scale. Power distance. This dimension deals with the fact that all individuals in society are not equal. It expresses the attitude of the culture towards these inequalities amongst us. Power distance is defined as the extent to which the less powerful members of institutions and organizations within a country expect and accept that power is distributed unequally. Compared to the U.S., with a score of 40, Brazil scored a 69, which reflects a society that believes hierarchy should be respected and inequalities amongst people are acceptable. The different distribution of power justifies the fact that power holders have more benefits than the less powerful in society. Individualism. This fundamental issue addressed by this dimension is the degree of interdependence a society maintains among its members. It has to do with whether people's self-image is defined in terms of I or we. Compared to the U.S. with a score of 91, Brazil has a score of 38, which means that in this country, people from birth onwards are integrated into strong, cohesive groups, which continues protecting its members in exchange for loyalty. This is an important aspect in the working environment too, where, for instance, an older and powerful member of a family is expected to help a younger nephew to be hired for a job in his own country. Masculinity. A high score, or a masculine score, on this dimension indicates that the society will be driven by competition, achievement, and success, with success being defined as the winner. A low score, or a feminine score, on the dimension means that the dominant values in society are caring for others and quality of life. Compared to the U.S. with a score of 62, Brazil scores a 49, a very intermediate score on this dimension. Uncertainty avoidance. The dimension uncertainty avoidance has to do with the way that a society deals with the fact that the future can never be known. Should we try to control the future or just let it happen? Compared to the U.S. with a score of 46, Brazil scores a 76, which is high on uncertainty avoidance, and so do the majority of the Latin American countries. These societies show a strong need for rules and elaborate legal systems in order to structure life. Long-term orientation. This dimension describes how every society has to maintain some links with its own past while dealing with the challenges of the present and future, and societies prioritize these two essential goals differently. Compared to the U.S. with a score of 26, Brazil scored a 44, which is intermediate in this dimension. Indulgence. One challenge that confronts humanity now and in the past is the degree to which small children are socialized. Without socialization, we do not become human. This dimension is defined as to the extent to which people try to control their desires and impulses based on the way they were raised. Relatively weak control is called indulgence, and relatively strong control is called restraint. Compared to the U.S. with a 68 score, Brazil's score of 59 marks it as an indulgent society. People in societies classified by a high score in indulgence generally exhibit a willingness to realize their impulses and desires with regard to enjoying life and having fun. Now let's take a look at technology in Brazil. Brazil's business environment has been very dynamic, characterized by high entry-exit rates of firms and a large number of young businesses that have made a strong contribution to job creation. Brazil has made substantial progress on innovation. Investment in R&D lags some other emerging economies, notably China, but is ahead of India and South Africa and other Latin American economies. Innovations in Brazilian firms often involve marketing or organizational innovations, with only few firms engaging in R&D related innovative activities. Investment in higher education is still relatively low, although it has grown over the past decade. International cooperation on research remains relatively low, as is the international mobility of researchers. Brazil has shown enormous improvements in connecting people. The number of mobile subscriptions per capita has increased rapidly over the past decade. Brazil's participation in global value chains remains somewhat limited, reflecting the large size of Brazilian economy and the strong reliance on natural resources. Foreign direct investment has been high. R&D tax credits are an increasingly popular form of government support for companies' innovation activities, and Brazil is among the large number of countries that provide such an incentive. However, the existing tax incentive scheme in Brazil appears to favor firms that are already successful and profitable, which may limit the support for young and innovative firms.
Looking at Brazil's environmental context, the biggest thing that jumps out is air pollution. The air pollution is mostly caused by deforestation and recent urbanization. Brazil is ranked 77 out of 178 countries by the Environmental Performance Index. It is based on factors such as carbon in the atmosphere, which is at 52.02 according to the EPI. That is an average score, and due to deforestation, this number has grown over the years. Legal context of Brazil. To judge the legal context of Brazil, we are going to be looking at the Rule of Law Index that World Bank provides us with. The Rule of Law Index tells us how much the people abide by the rules. Ranked at 52, Brazil does not have a particularly strong rule of law compared to the United States, which ranks at 91 percentile. Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index gives us an idea of how corrupt the country is likely to be. Ranking at 43, Brazil is more towards the corrupt side. Comparing to the United States scored 73. Doing a SWOT analysis for Brazil, we found out that the strengths that Brazil has include a large population, the host of 2014 FIFA World Cup, large oil resources, it's a big provider of sugarcane ethanol, it has natural resources, property rights, and a stable economy. Some of the weaknesses that we uncovered were environmental pollution, corruption of government, high poverty, pollution, inflated property prices, and slow economic growth. Opportunities that Brazil could capitalize on include many untapped natural resources, opportunity to be global power, the Olympics in 2016, and great potential for mortgage growth. Some of the threats that Brazil faces include the economy being sluggish, bad exchange rate and asset prices, export-driven economy, high interest rates, real currency, and social inequality.